Clark passed away in January of 2002 at the age of 74, and he's buried here in Arlington National Cemetery in Section 34, near the grave of Blackjack Pershing. Of course, the band is named for Pershing's own. And also in a special section where there are a lot of Army band musicians. It's very interesting to note that Clark is buried near the graves of George Myers, who was the principal bugler just before him, and also Pat Mastrolio, who was the bugler that followed Keith Clark. We're honored, as I said before, to have members of the Clark family present today, and I've asked the oldest daughter to speak on their behalf. And it's been my pleasure and honor to just work with the family over the past couple of years in getting this information together that resulted in today's ceremony. So it's my honor right now to introduce Nancy Joy McCauley, the daughter of Keith Clark.
On behalf of my mother and my family, I would like to thank the TAPS Project for inviting us to take part in this commemoration of the anniversary of the sounding of TAPS at JFK's funeral. Trying to capsulize or accurately try to relate the timeline of those days would be impossible, if nothing else, due to my age. But I would like to share a few words about our father that will help you to appreciate why this day is so special to us. Music was an integral part of our family. We didn't need an alarm clock to waken us in the morning. The long tones coming from the music studio attached to our living room were enough to wake us up. Dad practiced daily, so we were expected to follow suit on an instrument of our choice. On more than one occasion, we would hear from an adjoining room, "Are you sure that wasn't an A flat?" Or, "That phrasing wasn't quite right," or, "You might want to pick up the tempo a little bit." Dad was quite a taskmaster where practice time was concerned. You started out with 30 minutes a day, and as your level of proficiency rose, we added 30 minutes, and we usually worked our way up, I remember, to 2 hours of practice a day. Many arguments were given to be excused from this rather odious chore, but none were accepted. He challenged us to strive for excellence in our music, and we grudgingly came along. But, in his defense, he was always the first one to smile when we performed at a school function or an evening church service. We knew we had done well when his eyes would well up with tears, his cheeks would turn a little pink, and believe it or not, his nose would wiggle.
Arlington started as a wartime burial ground during the Civil War and has evolved to the national shrine that you see here today. After the world watched President Kennedy's service and witnessed the rich history of military honors that makes Arlington so special, record numbers of families elected to bury their heroes here on these hallowed grounds. Every day I hear the echoes of TAPS making the final salute to our national heroes as they're laid to rest here. I see families coming from all over the country to bury their loved ones here at Arlington National Cemetery, where I remind you no grave can be purchased, each must be earned. And I have to tell you that TAPS is an integral part of that military honors that are rendered here and across the nation to American veterans. So to all the buglers on behalf of Arlington National Cemetery and the untold numbers of veterans and their families that are honored every day with your sounding of TAPS, thank you very much for what you do for our nation. Thank you for sharing this special occasion as we honor us and remember our 35th President, John F. Kennedy, and his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lechner. We are indeed honored by your words. 50 years ago, as plans were being made to honor the late president, the United States Air Force Pipe Band was on tour in New Orleans. At the request of the First Lady, they were asked to participate in the funeral services. While preparing for an evening show that day of November 22nd, Pipe Major Sandy Jones received a call from Washington ordering the pipe band's immediate return to Bowling Air Force Base. The stunned members of the band packed and headed for transport. They arrived back in Washington and returned to Bowling. They landed actually at Andrews Air Force Base just ahead of the plane carrying the cabinet members who were on their way to Japan for a summit meeting when they heard the news. Now, in a wide departure from the customary graveside procedure in which a band standing fast plays an appropriate hymn as the casket is carried from the caisson up to the gravesite, Mrs. Kennedy asked that the Air Force Pipe Band actually march past the gravesite, playing Mist-Covered Mountain, while the movement of the casket was taking place. Today, we are incredibly honored to have the original members of that band